What's up, everybody? Right now, UConn is making a habit of starting slow. Let's get into it. You're locked on.
You are Locked On UConn, your daily podcast on the UConn Huskies, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for joining us on Locked On Live. You are live and up in dealing with another slow start for the back-to-back champs. Probably worded that wrong. Dealing with is probably a ridiculous comment. I think the thing that I think we're all frustrated with is the inability to separate what we see and what we hear from Coach Hurley. And I don't mean that in any negative way towards Danny at all. I know what he's talking about. I know what he sees, and I can see the potential that this team has come February, March. It's just hard here in November 19th playing against a team that's ranked like 360th in the country. And albeit some of that is subjective, this is not a very good team. They're not positionally very large. To see the forest past the trees. You see it in stretches. You start fast, you start the game, turnover, then Solo hits a three, then Liam with the spin cycle layup, Solo making up for some of his turnovers with good defense. Samson playing really well early with not a lot of fouls. One thing I noticed right from the start, how I knew this was going to be a tough, not matchup, but the way that UConn plays offense. They're very meticulous. They're very methodical. And Hurley wants sets run. This isn't an offense where it's like, hey, clear it out for just name a player. Alex, clear it out for a Solo, clear it out for Aiden, and let them get to the basket. That's not what UConn does. So as soon as ETSU started to ET&M started to play that matchup zone where essentially they run like a three-quarter court slow down defense. A lot of low majors, a lot of mid majors play that to limit possessions, because by the time you get it over the half court mark, if it upsets you or disrupts you even for 3 or 4 seconds, now instead of starting your offense at the 28-second mark, you're at the 22. So it was a really good tactic by ET&M initially to kind of slow UConn's offense down. You could tell they scored 81 points all night, 42 in the first half, when they've on average scoring 92 a game. So you could tell that was a little bit of an issue. Should UConn be able to handle that? 100%. But I'm telling you that teams that don't have the same talent will do that just to limit possession, so that if a team doesn't shoot 70%, it's not going to be a loss by 50. You lose by, they lose by 36? So that's just something, just a little bit, just so you guys understand, like that was what I saw initially. We got a couple people waiting. Let's go to my guy, Mr. UConn. God, is there a better Twitter handle or name for Mr. UConn? Let's do it, dude. What's up? How we doing? Give me your thoughts.
Can you hear me?
I hear you just fine.
There we go. Yeah, I thought outside of the the turnovers, I was happy with how they played outside the turnovers. I really was. But would they have 19, 20, something like that? That's not going to cut it in Maui. It's just not.
Yeah, no, they had 18. They forced 18 turnovers. They had 19, so it was -1 tonight. That's great for golf, but not good for the turnover ratio.
Yeah.
For basketball. I agree with you, man. The thing that I take away from this game is they're getting there. You know what I mean? Like it's positive signs from Aiden Mahaney. I thought Solo was consistent again. Alex took a little bit of a step back in terms of being more aggressive in terms of hunting for his shot. And I'll get to that point here in a little bit, but I felt like it's indicative in the box score. You had 11 from Liam, 11 from Alex. Samson had 8, 12 for Solo, 10 for Aiden, 6 for Jaden, 9 for Terrace off the bench, 7 for Hassan Diarra. Like, those are good numbers, but there isn't an alpha. There isn't a guy that you're like, there's no Cam Spencer, there's no Steph Castle, there's no Donovan Klingon, just get me the ball. So they're searching for their roles right now. And so that to me is the only thing that's holding this team back, is that almost paralysis by analysis, where they're trying to carve out these roles, carve out what they should be doing instead of just playing.
Yeah. The defense has impressed me this season, though. I thought that was going to be a weakness, and so far it's proven to really not be.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing, is they're leading the nation in block shots, and that has a lot to do with some of the competition they're facing. They had 11 blocks tonight, but I mean, you can't poo-poo Solo or Samson and Terrace both having 3 blocks again tonight. Their centers combining for 6 blocks in a game against any competition in the Division I level is admirable. And then you had the other blocks. Solo had a block, so it adds up. The defense is it's different. We talked about it today on the pod, like when we recorded it. It's like you don't have that Donovan Klingon character to kind of essentially redirect everything and start fast breaks. But what you do have is good positional size, where Hassan Diarra gets a crazy block. Jaden Ross gets a block that was insane. Jalen Stewart, like all these guys are going to pitch in to pump those numbers up. But if your centers are averaging between 4 and 6 blocks a game as the time goes on, I don't think they're going to average 6, but if they get to 4 a game total between Samson and Terrace, I think we're going to be in good shape.
Yeah, exactly.
What else, man? Like, are you worried? One of the things I have on the rundown is who stood out for you, and are you worried about the Maui Invitational?
Terrace has stood out to me all season. He really
Okay.
has. He's stepped into his role in a huge way. He's gotten rebounds. He's getting points. He's a great backup to Samson so far. What worries me, it might be if we continue to commit these turnovers on against better competition, like how they're just going to take advantage of it. Better competition could force even more of those turnovers, because you're playing better defense, you're playing a better offense. Are we able to adjust our passing and ball handling to fit that level of play? And then the physicality of it. I mean, you're playing those other top D1 teams. They're going to be more physical, but it's a worry. But at the same time, it's like I know Dan can get them ready, so we really just got to see what happens.
Yeah, and I agree with you. Listen, man, I appreciate you coming on the show. I'm going to drop you for a second, but I want to thank you for, if anyone doesn't know, Mr. UConn, you're the king of gifts. You're the king of content creation in terms of putting stuff out there in the UConn universe. So just want to give you that shout out. Okay.
Appreciate it, Mark. Thank you.
All right, brother. That was Mr. UConn. I have asked him for a couple of favors and he's hooked me up. Fantastic guy, fantastic ability to put together some things that we love to see on the socials. Before we get Randy in here, I don't agree with this, Bernie. The refs were terrible. I do agree with that. The refs were terrible. I have continued to put in my notes when I watch these games that it's one of the worst home whistles I've ever seen in terms of a big-time, high major home environment. They don't get the whistle that most blue bloods get. Take it for what it's worth. It was sloppy. Lucky it was East Texas A&M. True. If it was Gonzaga, they lose by double digits. I think that's wrong. I don't think that this team is going to be sloppy just because or be as sloppy against a top 5 team in the country. And I don't think that Gonzaga is as good as everyone says they are. I think UConn is, figuring some stuff out. And by the time they play Gonzaga, we're going to be in good shape. So I disagree, but it is what it is. Danny, and he is not going to be happy with this performance, 100%. All right, Randy, what you got?
Hey, Mark, how you doing?
Good, man. How are you?
Good, man. I was really impressed with the way Aiden came out in the second half.
Yep.
Much more aggressive, looking for a shot, taking it to the rim. Really liked that a lot. And then I think Terrace, he's probably been, outside of Caravan, our best player for these first few games. So it's great that he's really been able to, get himself into the mix. I think tonight there's probably a little bit of looking to Maui, and East Texas. They were scrappy. They're a fast team. Those guards were putting their hands in there, and just some sloppiness. But
Yeah,
overall,
they were competing.
Yeah, I think it wasn't a horrible night. So it's fine. Let's get on to Maui.
And I said this at the start, and I don't know if everyone heard this, and if you're on or if you're listening now, when a team runs 3/4 court press, they are trying to limit possessions. So the score is going to drop a little bit. Unless UConn shot 75% from the floor tonight, which they did not, they weren't going to score 90 points. And the fact that they scored 81 shows you how efficient they can be overall. They shot, let's look at this box score here. They shot 54% from 2, 29, almost 30% from 3, and they shot 70% from the floor, but they only had 59 shots. If you look at the, I don't have the stats in front of me, but I would imagine they had more possessions in the first 3 other games because teams didn't play this type of zone. And it wasn't like a press to create turnovers. It's a press to just slow you down. So that by the time you get into your offense, the shot clock's at like 19 seconds. That's the issue. And it's smart. That's a great coaching job by Jordan Van. I can't think of his last name. It's like Van Nostrand or something like that. He was fantastic tonight. I thought that was a really good tactical situation to keep this team involved in the game, because unless UConn shoots the lights out, they're going to kind of be in striking distance where they're not being blown out by 50 points. So kudos to him.
Yeah, no, I agree. In that 3/4 press too, we still got some young guys out there, and they're trying to figure it out, trying to figure out the offense. And there was a couple forced opportunities, Solo trying to get it down low. Kind of, I think Donnie said, playing the play, forcing it a little bit instead of looking and reading what's going out on the court.
Do you feel like, as I do, that because I love Donnie Marshall as a player, but I have such a hard time listening to him as an announcer. Do you feel like he tries to overanalyze UConn?
100%.
Thank you. Okay, I don't want to speak.
Yeah. He definitely does. He tries to play off that he played at UConn and doesn't want to be overly biased, I think.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And I think sometimes, even like last year, like Donnie is, if this gets back to him in some way, shape, or form, we love you, man. Like, but even myself, who wasn't even covering the team at the time you did this, like officially, knew that this team ran really specific offense. And there were times where he was just like, "Oh, that's just the flow of the offense." Like he sometimes just says things and it just doesn't like make sense. So I really appreciate his passion. I love his contribution to UConn Nation, but sometimes he frustrates the hell out of me. And I love John Fanta, but in no way, shape, or form do I think John Fanta should be correcting him. But it is what it is, man. It's another win. I asked the same thing to my guy, Mr. UConn. You said Terrace is who stood out for you, and are you worried about Maui at all?
I wouldn't say worried. I think it's going to be a great test. I think we're going to win it? Probably not. I think we still have a lot to learn and tighten up, but I think it's going to be a great barometer of where we're at so far early in the season.
All right. Fair enough, man. Anything else before we let Tyler jump in here?
No, let's go, Tyler.
All right, brother. Appreciate you. We're going to jump you off. Appreciate you, Randy, coming on and giving us your thoughts. All right, Tyler, you gave me your pregame thoughts. Before I get to you, I will say to you that Tyler gave me some really good points before the game. I'm going to bring them up right now before we get him on the show because I want to see how right he was. And we're going to talk about that as he jumps on the show. Tyler from DC.
Yo, what up?
You're live. What up, man? How are you doing?
Doing well.
Good, man. What were your thoughts?
It seems like it was a tale of two halves again, but in reverse. I thought they came out, they executed well in the first half. They just seemed more settled. Yeah, the first half was good. The second half, I feel like they kind of got in a lead, and then I think the sloppiness kind of set in. I like what I saw from Sampson tonight. I thought he did a lot better job at not getting into foul trouble. Still, though, like I'm kind of like an anti-block guy. I don't think blocks are good. Like they're good. Blocks are good. 100% of blocks don't go in. Don't go in the basket, right? but it's also true 100% of shots don't go in. So I think sometimes we get the players are trying way too hard to get blocks, and it takes them out of defensive position to get the rebound. And there's a lot of times I felt, especially in the second half, all these guys, and it's not just Sampson, it's Ross, it's Stewart, it's the guards, Noel, like everyone's jumping to try to jam it down the guy's throat. And it's like all you need to do is just contest the shot, box him out, and get the rebound. That's all you need to do. But I totally trust Hurley to clean this up, because he will. I just know he will.
And what I'll say to that, Tyler, is you're not wrong. I have no issue with block shots. I'm not anti-block. I know you're saying that kind of somewhat facetiously. I can hear it in your voice, but but at the same time, it's less about being anti-block and being about I'm pro rotational defense. So for example, I'll give you a great example in the game when Sampson comes over and blocks the shot, and you have Aiden and Solo behind. You can see the replay through the backboard. They're both delayed turning and going, oh shit, we need to get under there and help.
Right.
So that's the cleanup. It's not the help defense to block the shot. It's the help defense, the rotational defense that can come down and to grab the loose ball so we can there's no offensive rebound. That's my biggest issue. And and I said that at the beginning of the URI exhibition. It's this interior defense needs to understand that we don't have the Great Wall of Bristol, as Rob Doster called Donovan Clingan, to kind of clean up messes. Everyone needs to kind of hedge underneath and then kick everything out and then start offense that way. So if we're a little slower on the transition, that's fine, but possessions matter. For
sure. And I think it's not just and people are so worried about how many block shots we're gonna get because we don't have Donovan back there. But
right.
Donovan only got 2.5 blocks a game last year.
It's true.
He impacted way more shots than 2.5 a game, right? So it's more about rim protection, protecting the paint, keeping your man in front of them. And I felt like that's what I want to see from the wings, where they're keeping their torso, their body, their chest in front of the player. And you know who did that? Aiden Mahaney. If you go back and watch the first half, both of Solo Ball's steals would not have happened if it wasn't for Mahaney's on-ball defense. Because what happened is Solo came over the top. Mahaney's guy drove into the paint. Mahaney stayed in front of him, and Solo came in and swiped the ball. So it's great play by Solo, but that doesn't happen without Aiden. And these are things that don't show up in the box score. Liam and Sampson had a trap on the sideline. I know you played tennis, right? So there's forced errors and unforced errors. So Liam McNeely and Sampson had a trap on a sideline that resulted in the guy throwing it out of bounds. And then again, 2 possessions later, Liam did it again. So these are plays that I don't think these show up as steals. They're going to show up as turnovers in the box score on the other team. Liam, I thought is a great defender. He's not gonna get you steals. He will get you blocks because he's longer. But he's much like Alex. They're very smart, cerebral players. They can anticipate what's going to happen. That's a quote from Dan Hurley. I don't want to take that as mine, but that's exactly what he says. The reason when Alex gets so many blocks is he's not a freak athlete, but he's such a good, smart basketball player. He can anticipate what the player is going to do, so he can block the shot. So overall, I thought the defense was actually really good. When I'm watching defense, what I want to see is them forcing the offense into taking low percentage shots, fadeaway jumpers. I want to see them. Are they forcing the team to go one-on-one? Are they pushing them late into the shot clock? And I felt like they did most of those things well tonight. So I thought the defense was well. The one thing I want to see Hassan Diarra being a little bit more control, and I don't know. He had a lot of turnovers.
Everybody did.
And it's frustrating. The one turnover he had was just frustrating for me because he just I just feel like sometimes he just plays at one speed and there was an inbound. He just drives right down the court. There's nothing there, and he tries to throw it to Jaden Ross, and then it goes out of bounds. And I'm just thinking, and I rewound it. I was like, there was nothing there, and it's kind of dude, if you're a senior point guard, these are the mistakes you can't be making, and this is why I like him and Mahaney, because I feel like Mahaney's never going to do that, right? Mahaney does other things. Mahaney can't be a pest on defense like Hassan, but he's also not going to create, these situations like Hassan does all the time. But I don't know. Overall, I don't know. I felt good about the first half.
Yeah.
And not as good about the second half. So
I'm indifferent, Tyler. If we look back at what you sent me at about 3:00 this afternoon, it was, you think there's a responsibility on Haas to be the floor general. And if that's true, then we have to, like you said, hold him accountable for the 5 turnovers tonight, because that's a rough stat for only playing probably 20 minutes. That's about what he's averaging. I don't have the official numbers in front of what everyone's minutes played, but I have the box score other than the minutes played. So to have 7 points, 5 turnovers. But what I did love to kind of put a positive on Haas is like even that block that he gave, down the stretch in the second half. That's a leadership play. It's a leadership play that when I see Sampson getting on the young guys about defensive rotation and why they got a foul on a play. Regardless of whether we think the UConn gets a bad whistle at home, like I do, I think sometimes playing through all that BS is what kind of propels you forward. And I thought Haas and Sampson showed some leadership tonight. It wasn't a clean game. And Dan's not going to be pumped about this game going into now having to travel to Maui. But what I think he can take from that is that he's still, his words in his media availability, tinkering with this lineup. And some of the positives that I think we can take away is Ahmad Noel showed that he is ready to take on a bigger role if Dan thinks he's earned it.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I want to listen to Hurley's post game. Like he literally is the truth. Like we could talk, and I know you agree. We can talk all day, but like literally, I trust him because like he's a genius. Whatever.
It's Tyler. You know what the crazy shit is? Is like we're in one of these situations now where we watch a team and we follow a team that has a coach that the entire fan base, not just like half the fan base, because it's wild. Even when you're like a championship level team, there's still fans that are like, that guy sucks, whatever, right?
Yeah.
This is the type of situation where I agree with you. Like, I'm curious to see what he says. I think I know what he's going to say, but you never know. Like I could be completely wrong. I think he's going to say stuff like, I'm going to look at the box score again. I think he's going to say, what you love is we still shot 55% from the floor. You don't like us shooting at under 30% from 3. You don't love us being at 33. We like us being at middle of the road on the rebounding side because we're out rebounding our opponents. What we don't love is 19 turnovers, and especially someone like Haas, who's our graduate senior with 5 turnovers. These are the things I think he'll highlight. He'll also probably highlight Aiden Mahaney having a nice game and kind of shooting it better. 40% overall, 2 of 7 from 3. Probably got a couple unkind rolls. Could have shot it better from 3, and 0 turnovers. So these are things that he'll highlight. But it's the mental lapses. It's the 3 turnovers from Jalen Stort in limited minutes. It's Terrace Reed having 2 turnovers and 2 fouls on a lot of garbage. But like it's just a sloppy game.
Yeah, there's definitely flashes, and like I expected a more crisp game tonight, and I felt like we got that in the first half. But I want to see 2 halves of that, 2 halves of kind of crisp games. But so it is making me a little bit nervous for Maui. I think I've confidence they'll get through the first 2. It's just it depends on who they face in that final. And I agree with you. I think Iowa State and Auburn are definitely the tougher matchups for them because Iowa State plays in the mud, and last year UConn could win any style. This team. I don't know how they'll do in the mud. We'll see.
Well, what's so interesting before we get to the comment here is we don't know yet. Like they haven't, and he said that like we don't know who we like until we get threatened, right?
Yeah.
So until we get threatened by a team, what if Memphis takes us into the weeds and Aiden has a phenomenal game or Ahmad has a phenomenal game? Then he can start deciding some of these decisions about his rotation based off of that, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and he said that he said that in his thing. You can't really tell what your rotation is until you're tested. Who are you going to, kind of thing.
Right. Exactly.
But generally, though, over the 4 games, I do feel like the most consistent players are obviously Alex, Liam, Terrace, and Solo. Those 4, and the other guys all seem to be sort of figuring out the roles and sorting themselves out. I mean, Ross. You can just see the potential Ross has. His shots aren't going down. I think Hurley's going to figure out how to use him and what he wants him to do. Mahaney, I think we saw what he should be doing. He's going to knock down his shots when he gets opportunities. We know what Sampson and Diarra are. So, I don't know. Yeah, it's going to be some growing pains, I think. But I think everything will be good.
All right, brother. I'm going to drop you off. I'm going to do a quick ad and then come back and see if anyone wants to come on. And if not, we'll call it a night.
Sounds good.
All right, dude. Thanks so much. Appreciate you. All right, that was Tyler showing us some love here. We're going to come back from the break after this. All right. Roy is a app that you use in terms of getting talking to athletes who are, it's not a collective, we all support Bleeding Blue for Good, but Roy is revolutionizing the NIL industry. Roy allows you, the fan, to have a say in who gets NIL money. So, like for us, we supported Joey Fayano and gave him $100 to add to his queue. How this works is if you want to essentially give money to a player versus a collective, you download Roy, you donate to their fund. If they don't fulfill whatever they show on their profile, whether it's content creation to say thank you or talking about X, Y, and Z, every contribution counts. $20, $5, whatever, it adds up, and it's going to help your favorite players stay put. I know Joey Fayano is a graduate student, so he's not going to be here, but we want to represent him because he did what he was supposed to do last weekend or 2 weekends ago against UAB. So join me in showing some love to Joey or another player that you think is great, Cam Edwards or whatever. Download the Roy app or join Roy today. Use the promo code Locked On. Every athlete from every team is there. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited. Go join Roy.com for full terms. Roy, support the players. Change the game. All right, guys. We're back on Locked On UConn. I am exhausted. It's been a long day. This team is exciting. I will say that. I think that the thing that I'm watching the most is, biggest takeaway for me is the problem with having an incredible system where there is no featured players is when you don't have the senior guys that are kind of the lead dogs. Because even Alex, I love Alex. I think he is the best player on this team. But what Alex does best is putting people in position to be better. He's not a guy that you can give the ball to and he can take someone off the dribble or take someone off a screen because we don't really play iso ball. Like that's the thing is like that's what people really don't understand when they watch this team. It's like, oh man, that UConn team doesn't look the same as it did the last couple of years. Yeah, because they're working a complex system where they're trying to figure out multiple combinations. And it's just one of those things where things are going to continue to get better. Mahaney got better today. Ahmad Noel got better today. Terrace Reed was the same solid player that we've seen with 7 points and 10 rebounds. He probably could have had more. He probably could have had a double-double. Liam was good. He had 11 points and 5 rebounds. He didn't get the 8 rebounds that his grandfather wanted, but that's the story for another day. Let's look at some of the comments in the chat. If anyone else wants to come on, feel free. Yes, you're damn right. I'm yawning because I'm exhausted. I've been doing work since 7 o'clock this morning. My kids are sick. Link to come on is going in the chat. All right. Let's look at some of these. Stewie just needs to show some maturity. I thought he was going to have a larger role than he's getting. He needs to keep grinding and lock in. Yeah, Brandon, I think we're all surprised. I think we're all surprised that Jay Ross leaped him. And it's not anything that is, I don't think he's done anything wrong. I just think he's not made the same, strides. So it is what it is. Come on the show and talk about it. Okay, Chris. We suck tonight. Cool. Good for you. Come on. Hey, Chris, come on the show and talk about how we sucked and talk about, what would you have done differently? That's what I want to know. That's the thing that frustrates me sometimes with the fan base is like understanding that this team is a work in progress. It's won back-to-back championships. They have a top 10 recruiting class. Dan is not going to just throw random guys in that don't know the offense. And it's only going to get better as time goes on. If you have a different solution, we'd love to hear it. Well, Also, don't care what anyone says. When Duke and Nova were all on top, they got all the calls. How did that garbage? Hey, Chris, you and I are in agreement there. I don't think we sucked tonight. I thought it was sloppy. I think you got to give the kids the benefit of the doubt. They just still won by 35 points or whatever it was. I definitely think we got a really shitty whistle, and that's just part of whatever we have going on. I don't know if it's Dan Hurley bias. I don't know if officials are pissed off about him. Yeah. And Steve, you're right about this. This team is like every other team in the country, is still finding out who they are, and we're still having a long way to go. I agree. This team that looks like what we are right now is not going to be the same team that we see at the end of December, at the end of January, at the end of February, and hopefully not by the end of March. This team is going to be competitive to compete for another national championship. You can see the bones. You can see a guy like, great example is, I'm writing notes down or talking into my phone so that it's dictated. Jaden Ross. Jaden can get any shot he wants at any time on the floor. And he is rushing wide open 3-point shots. And towards the end of the game, he got one extra opportunity to hit a corner three where he just took his time and just hit a good stroke. And it was money. It's just those little things that I feel like are going to be the difference of whether this team is going to the Final Four or not. Chris, again, it's fine. 4 bye games against lackluster competition leads to boredom, and Maui will be good for everyone. Honestly, man, that's a great point. And it could be but here's the thing that frustrates me. What are you bored about? You haven't done shit. Like, Alex has double championships. Solo has a championship, but he didn't play a lot last year. Samson has a championship, but he played a complimentary role. There's about 7 or 8 players who play a big role in this team who have not been a big part of a championship team. They're on a championship organization, but that should never be a part of what UConn is about. So I agree and disagree at the same time. Yeah, this team is going to be super explosive as time goes on. I don't have any issues with what Dan is doing, nor should any of you. And if you do, you're probably a little crazy because this guy's won back-to-back championships in a world where everybody is changing teams constantly. So we're in good shape there. We're going to do a quick break and do my last ad of the day. I'm going to figure out which one that is and stop yawning. I'm going to get all kinds of shit on the boneyard, I'm sure, that I'm yawning every 2 seconds, but I don't give a fuck. Tell the boneyard they can kiss my ass. And we're going to do the last ad because it's 9:45 and I'm old and I'm tired and I've been working all day. But we're going to talk about Mint Mobile here when we come back. I love a great deal as much as the next guy, but I'm not going to crawl through a bed of hot coals just to save a few bucks. It has to be easy, no hoops, no BS. So when Mint Mobile said it was easy to get a wireless plan for $15 a month with the purchase of 3-month plan, I called them on it. Turns out it really is that easy to get a wireless plan for $15 a month. And I actually did this, guys. Like, I got rid of my T-Mobile plan, paid out my phone, got the $15 a month. It's got an unlimited plan. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text. Check it out. Find out how easy it is to switch to Mint Mobile and get 3 months of premium wireless for $15 a month. If you've seen the Ryan Reynolds ads, that's what this is. So get this new customer offer, your new 3-month premium wireless plan for $15 a month. Go to mintmobile.com/lockedoncollege. That's mintmobile.com/lockedoncollege. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month. All you have to do is own your phone. So if you want a brand new phone, pay for it, and then you get the difference there. All you have to do is pay $45 upfront. It's the equivalent to $15 for a 3-month period. New customers on the first 3-month plan only. Speed slower after 40 gigabytes on unlimited plans. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details. All right, guys. last segment here. Before we go, if anyone wants to jump on, feel free. If not, it's going to be a short segment. What I've seen from this team is, again, I loved certain things tonight. I didn't like certain things. I got frustrated. I can tell by my notes that there was only a few things to be excited about, and that was essentially Alex, Liam, Solo offensively. Haas has been steady. Jaden has been kind of an amazing athlete. You saw that dunk tonight. But these slow starts have to stop. The leadership is continuing to grow between Haas and Samson and Alex. I think we saw Dan Hurley kiss Luke Murray on the cheek in the under 14-minute timeout because they were laughing about how bad the officiating was. That's how you know shit has gotten crazy with UConn and Dan Hurley. Yeah, and Chris, again, dude, why don't you come on the show? You make great points. Stop with I'm just going to text stuff. The link is here, bro. I'm going to put it in here again. Come on the show. You don't have to put your face up there. Just tell us what you think. This is like a Spaces. If you're familiar with Mr. Hotballs or Hurley Mania, come on the show and tell us what you think. And honestly, I agree with you. Alex should take more shots. He should be hunting his shots more and getting after it. And, that's totally fair. So, yeah. And I am the yawner. You're damn right I am. You know what? If anyone and Chris, you can go back to the boneyard and tell these guys, if anybody has had a stroke when they're 40 years old and still can do multiple podcasts a day, work 3 jobs and have 3 kids, then feel free to walk a mile in my shoes before they talk shit. So, but I don't go on that. I just was told what was going on. So anyway, that's why I always have a little fun with it. Look, what is that? Chris Aggie as hell. I don't know what that means, but whatever. Look, guys, it's about 37 minutes in. My wife's probably about like, hey, why don't you come down and hang out with the kids a little more? So I am not worried about Maui. I'm worried about us winning a 3rd national championship. So even if we falter there, I think we're going to be better for it. Be on the lookout we're doing a recording tomorrow with, I think, almost every team that's represented of the teams that are in Maui, except for maybe Dayton. So 6 of 8 teams. So here's my yawn. There's my yawn for the boneyard. But yeah, if I'm going to put that out there. We're going to do a recording with a bunch of Locked On hosts for the Maui prep for next week. That's tomorrow to record, and then I'll let you know. Anyway, listen, good, but not great tonight. Some good positives. Curious to see what happens with Dan tomorrow in the media availability, but we'll go from there. Love you guys.